We've got to stabilize these knots, so I'm going to use a little epoxy to put down in there. Before I can put any epoxy in there, I need to put tape over this so that it does not ooze through and bleed out. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So I'm just going to tape these up. So here, this one doesn't go all the way through, so I'm not too worried about this one. Just don't think it goes now. This one doesn't go all the way through. I'll just put some surface epoxy on it. But this one has some gaps that I'm going to need to fill up. Really, all I'm doing is getting a dam. So that takes care of that one. So we'll just do the same thing down here. We'll just build a little dam here to catch any epoxy from running through. And then when we flip it over and fill it full of epoxy, this should stop it. If it bleeds through some or isn't perfect on this side, that's fine, because like I said, this is on the inside. You'll never see it. This part right here that we need to fill up and stabilize. Unfortunately, I don't have a knot to go in that. What I'll do is just fill this in. I may use black pigment to put in that epoxy. I think having that clear might look kind of silly, but this will create a rustic appearance. These saw marks right here, things like that adds to this like old beam look. That'll be our next step, is filling this up with epoxy. So since these are fairly small, we're just going to do some touch up here and put this epoxy down in this crack to help stabilize it. And this one over here will require a little bit more. It's a pretty big crack. We'll just work it down in here. You gotta pop any bubbles. And it also causes the epoxy to get a little bit runnier to get down in there deeper. Now for this guy, I want to color it in. And this epoxy, I can probably get some out of it. I've already cleaned up this. I'm going to simply mix up some more right quick, and I'm going to put some black tint in it. And for the tint, I'm just going to use some of this black Alumilite. Start by putting a few drops in here. Of course, I probably should have made sure it was open first. And this is really what you don't want to do, because now the epoxy is going to start curing before I even have this ready to pour. I've got a slight buildup on here, but as you can see, there's some bubbles that are starting to form out. So what I'll do is now we'll just pop a few. I'll put a little more in here while this epoxy is still fresh. Being really careful only to get it in the crack, because we've had some drip down in here. If it stains it a little, it won't matter too much, but I'd rather not have it stain too much. Now we'll let the epoxy cure, and we'll sand this down once it's done. And I'm not going to touch that because that will actually leave a black dot, and it's better to leave a black dot than have a black smear. So. So this is the epoxy where I filled in that knot. And you'll notice all these little pits. Those are where air bubbles did not pop. I'll need to put another coat of epoxy on this to touch up some of these little pits, because this is the exposed side. Now this one over here, the exposed side, and this will be the top. And as you can see, there's a few little dots there too. This here is the back side that'll go against the brick and stuff, or the rock. I don't really care so much about that. It's more along the lines of this nice sharp crisp edge. We're good on top except for a few little pits. This one here actually turned out really well. There's no pits or anything in it, so we're good there. I want to see what the bottom side of this epoxy fill looks like. It actually came out really good. It's just a little bit indented here, but since that's the inside, no one will ever know, no one will ever see. If I was going to make this an outside piece, I would go and put another layer here to make this a little more stable, or flush to the edge, I should say.
If you want to see this entire mantle build, just go ahead and click that thumbnail right there.